This video is going to be about finding the sum of an arithmetic sequence. And actually, I'm going to deal with this topic in two videos. In this first one, I want to do a basic approach. And then in the second one, I'll deal with some examples that might have some difficulties in them. Okay, so here's what the problem is about. Let's say I've got this sequence of numbers that I'm adding together. I've got 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6. Now, of course, I could add these numbers together in the traditional manner, but let's see if we can find a general way to do this so that if we had a lot of numbers, like let's say 1 to 100, we could add all of those together also. So here's the way we're going to do it. If I take the first number, which is 1, and the last number, 6, and I add them together, well, the sum of 1 and 6 is 7. And if I take the second number, the 2, and I add that to the second number from the end, which is 5, I also get a 7. And if I take the third number, 3, and I add that to the third number from the end, which is 4, I get a 7. So I've got 3 7s here, and 3 times 7 would be 21. So it seems like my answer should be 21. Let's add these numbers together in the traditional manner and make sure that's right. So 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 4 is 10, 10 plus 5 is 15, and 15 plus 6 is 21. So this seems to work. Now, let's see if we can find a general rule for what we did. Well, the first thing was I took the first number and the last number and added them together. So to make this a general rule, instead of saying the last number, let's call that number n. So in other words, I added together n, the last number, and the first number. So that's n plus 1. And then I had to figure out how many pairs of those numbers I had. In other words, the 1 plus 6, 2 plus 5, 3 plus 4. And basically, I've got half as many pairs as I have numbers. So if I have n numbers, then the number of pairs I have is n over 2. And if I multiply that n over 2 times the n plus 1, I should get the result I want. So let's plug in our real numbers into this formula, n times n plus 1 over 2. So let's see, n is 6, n plus 1, that's 6 plus 1, and I'm dividing that by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 6 plus 1 is 7, and 3 times 7 is 21. Now, let's try a variation just to make sure this is going to keep working. So, in this first example, I had pairs of numbers. What if I have an odd number of numbers? What if I have 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5? Well, I can't make pairs out of everything. I can make a pair out of the 1 and the 5. I can make a pair out of the 2 and the 4, but the 3 is going to be left by itself. So let's take that general formula and see if it works when we have an odd number. So the formula is going to be n times n plus 1 divided by 2. In this case, n is 5. So I'll have 5 times 5 plus 1 divide by 2. 5 times 5 plus 1, well 5 plus 1 is 6, and 5 times 6 is 30, so I'll have 30 divided by 2, and that equals 15, and we can add these numbers up and make sure it equals 15. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 more is 6, 6 plus 4 is 10, and 10 plus 5 is 15. So I think now we can see that this formula is going to work for both an odd and an even number of terms. Let's try the formula out on a big number, something you wouldn't want to do by just adding the traditional way. So here I've got the sequence 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, and then it goes up to 200. So my formula says n times n plus 1 divided by 2 will give me my sum. N is 200. It's the last number I have. and n plus 1 will be 200 plus 1. I'm going to divide that by 2. Okay, so 200 divided by 2 is going to be 100. And then I'm going to multiply that times 200 plus 1, which is 201. Well, to multiply by 100, all I want to do is add 2 zeros to the other number. So that means I'll have 20100, or 20,100, as the sum that I would get if I added up the numbers from 1 to 200. So let's just review this method quickly and make sure you understand the logic behind it. What I'm doing is I'm thinking of these numbers as pairs of numbers, and each pair is the same as if I added the first number and the last number, or the n number, the last one, plus 1. So that's the n plus 1. I've got half as many pairs as I have numbers, so I'll take the n and divide it by 2 to find out how many pairs I have. That will give me n over 2 times n plus 1, or n times n plus 1 over 2. I can read it either way. I plug in the numbers and I get the sum. Okay, so this works nicely when my first number is a 1, and I just increase by 1 each time. We're going to run into some difficulties if the first number is not 1. What if I started at 5 and wanted to go up to 200? And we'll also run into difficulties if instead of increasing by 1 each time, I increase by, let's say, 2 or 3 or 4. So if I wanted to add 6 plus 8 plus 10 plus 12 and so on, I might have to do a little work on this general formula to get it to work for situations like that. Okay, so I'll do that in the second video. Stick around. I'll be back soon. Take care.